Sometimes it can be helpful to count the number of arrangements possible in a given group of people or objects. So for example, let's say we were looking at 5 different people and we wanted to know how many different ways we could put those 5 people in line. So since it's 5 people here, if we were to switch the order they were in, like have 2 people trade spots, that would be a different lineup. We just want to see how many choices are possible. So a good way to think about this problem here is using blanks. There are 5 blanks because there's like 5 spots right here. You can say, hey, go to the front of the line, go to the second spot, third, fourth, and fifth spots right here. And this works a lot like the basic principle of counting that we learned about a few videos back. We want to say, okay, these are like 5 separate categories here. There's this category, and so on. We got to figure out how many choices for each one and multiply them together. Well, I can send for my first spot right here, hey, I can choose any of those 5 people, go stand over there. There's 5 choices for that first spot. For my next spot though, I only have 4 choices left, because whoever I told to sit over here is done. They're sitting and they're done, or standing. So I only have 4 more people to choose from for that spot. For this spot, I'm down to 3 choices, because I already told 2 people where to go. Then I have 2 choices for this spot, and I'm down to just 1 choice for that last spot right there. And if I multiply all of those together, that will give me my answer. So it turns out there are 120 different ways you could line 5 people up. So just by turning 2 people in different spots, that counts as a different lineup. There are 120 possibilities. If we had a situation very similar, but now with 7 people, we would need to look at the possibilities again. So this time we would have 7 blanks, 7 choices for the first spot, then we would have 6 choices, then we would have 5, then we would have 4, then we have 3, then we'd have 2, then we'd have 1. This sort of pattern where you take a number and you start multiplying down by 1 all the way happens a lot in these sorts of problems. In fact, it happens so often that we gave it its own symbol in math. We can represent this long string of multiplication right here by 7, and it's actually a little exclamation mark after the 7. That's pronounced 7 factorial. So the factorial symbol is an exclamation mark. And what that does is it starts at whatever number you tell it to, and it just multiplies all the way down until you hit 1. So this example over here is the same thing as 5 factorial. If I wanted 10 factorial, that'd just be 10 times 9 times 8 times 7, all the way down to 1. And there is a button for factorial on your calculator, so it makes it a little easier than having to type all that out. So if you're on your calculator, hit the math menu. We go to that menu pretty often. Oh, sorry. Before you do that, hit the 7. So let's say we want to actually figure out what this equals without having to type in the numbers. Hit your 7. Then go to the math menu. And the tab over here at the top that says PRB stands for probability. If we hit right arrow and scroll over to that, you'll see the 4th choice down, there's actually an exclamation mark. That's going to be our factorial symbol. So we select that, we're going to hit enter, and it tells us what it's equal to. So if you do 7 times 6 times 5 times 4, all the way down to 1, you're going to get 5,040. So let me write that down. So the factorial key is kind of handy because it saves you a little bit of work right here. As far as factorials go, you can take the factorial of any whole number you want. Notes to write down though. You're not allowed to do factorials for negatives or decimals. So you can only take the factorial of a whole number. And a weird note on this one, just something to write off on the side, is that 0 factorial is equal to 1. That seems really weird, because 0 factorial sounds like it should just be 0, because you're just multiplying 0. We define it to equal 1 though, and it'll make more sense why in the next video, but just as a little side note since we're talking about it right now. So a factorial, you start at whatever number and you just multiply down until you hit 1. Let's look at a couple examples. So let's say we have 8 people in a race, and we want to look at how many different ways the top 3 medals can be won. So what we want to do right here is look at our top 3 only. I have 8 choices for this one, I have 7 choices for this one, and I have 6 choices for that spot right there. And I don't need any more than that, because I only want the top 3 in this problem. If I multiply those together, I'm going to end up with 336 possibilities. So let me write that a little farther, actually. I'm going to write that over here. I'll come back to that in a minute. Let's do our second one, though. You have 20 people auditioning for a show, and the top 8 are going to make the leaderboard. So what we really have to do here is have 8 blanks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 20, then we have 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. Now typing all of that in the calculator is going to be kind of a pain. There's a lot of numbers there. It'd be nice if I could use the factorial key, but the trouble is if I do 20 factorial, it's going to multiply all the way down to 1. So it's going to keep going way past the 13 where I want to stop. There's a trick though that you can use to kind of make this still work out. Really what's going on here, picture we did do 20 factorial for the top. So if we really did do a 20 factorial, this would go times 12, times 11, times 10, times 9, times 8, etc. It keeps going. What we really want to do is divide this by that purple part right there. So 12 times 11 times 10 times 9. Because if we divide by all that, it's just going to cancel, and we'll just get the red part that we actually want. Well, 12 times 11 times blah, blah, blah is really just 12 factorial. So what we can actually do, instead of typing all those numbers in, and on this problem again, well, maybe not a big deal. Maybe you're just fine with typing the numbers in. But in bigger problems, you will like this little shortcut right here. We're going to divide by 12 factorial to cancel out all those numbers we didn't want. And if you do that, it'll just tell you the answer right away. And it's quite large. So I might not even write this number down. But you can see there's a lot of different possibilities here for this problem. Going back to the last one, just real quickly before we go. Instead of doing 8 times 7 times 6, you could have also have done 8 factorial. And we want to cancel out from 5 down to 1. So we can do over 5 factorial. If you type that in the calculator, you will end up with the same results.